Hi, I'm Stewart Spinks and welcome to episode 353 of my podcast, Beekeeping Short and Sweet. The heatwave continues and that magical date for taking our bees to the Borage pollination has arrived. Listen in to hear how we got on and how we were surprised by a sudden downpour. Beekeeping Short and Sweet, a beekeeping podcast for the inquisitive beekeeper with a short attention span. A beekeeper, in fact, just like me. This week's podcast is brought to you, in part, by Hive Multi-Guard. So,
when you need a little peace of mind that your bees are safe from dangers of all kind, pesticides, hornets, wasps and mice are no match for Hive 5. The Hive 5 Multi-Guard is the best one in town. Keeps your bees safe all year round. The ultimate solution has been found. It's Hive 5.
The Hive 5 Multi-Guard fits nearly all beehives and makes beekeeping much easier. Hive 5.
Hi everyone, another week and another podcast as we move into the full summer nectar flow and start taking our bees to the borage crop in Essex. It's been a hot week and looks likely to continue for another week at least. We are once again back into heatwave territory with daytime temperatures heading up past 30 degrees Celsius once more. I thought that was pretty extreme until I spoke to my eldest daughter yesterday, who's whisked her family off to Greece for an early summer holiday, and they've had highs of 42 degrees Celsius. Now that's crazy hot, and I can imagine not very enjoyable. Downright dangerous if nothing else. Overnight temperatures here have also been very warm, uncomfortably so for most of us, I would guess. The one benefit for me is that being an early riser, I can get out and inspect colonies very early before the heat of the day kicks in. Just last week I was actually inspecting the first few colonies of the day at 6 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't happen very often, but it's great to be able to get 30 or 40 inspections out of the way as early as possible before that bee suit gets unbearably hot. That point at which my glasses keep slipping off my nose because of the sweat is the point I head back to the truck for a rehydration session. Lots and lots of fluids and pretty much just plain old water. Sometimes I think we take fresh water for granted. It's such a precious commodity, but always available to us, clean and cool, at the kitchen tap. How lucky we really are. The inspections I carried out last week were preparatory inspections to get set up for the borage pollination trip. Oh, I should also add, I had to dash around inserting some queens in cages for a lot of the splits that I've made recently. These, of course, came from Luke and Susie at Northumberland Honey because, well, I just didn't get my queen rearing setup sorted in time before my trip away. On that note, there won't be a podcast for a couple of weeks as I'll be away in America. I still find it hard to believe that I'm taking a summer holiday, but, as I was told just recently, the bees will do what the bees will do, and there's not much I can do about it, so I might as well enjoy my time with my youngest daughter and son-in-law. So, the inspections, really, were preparations for the borage trip and the time that they'll be left alone while I'm away, and actually, it kind of fits in with how inspections drift a little during this very busy summer period. We don't inspect all colonies from this point on, not until we get through July and into that all-important August treatment phase of the season, checking for varroa and general bee health as we head into the latter part of the season. The inspections for this week were queen cell inspections and health checks. Interestingly, just 3 colonies had rudimentary queen cups, and of those 2 had eggs in a couple of cells, making them queen cells in their own right. One of those colonies is very large and expanding quickly, with 6 or 7 frames of sealed brood. I think this is the one colony I'm most concerned about in terms of losing a swarm while I'm away. I removed the queen cells and then carried out another check once they were in place on the borage field. Another egg in another queen cup. Oh well, I guess if they try again I'm likely to miss a swarm, but that's just how it goes. We've moved 31 colonies to the borage, so if it's just the one hive that swarms, I guess I'll take it. So the main thrust of those inspections was checking for queen cells, and I'm really happy to have seen so many settled colonies, just going about the business of honey production without the need for that reproductive queen cell production. And that's really why I choose not to inspect on a weekly basis through the July foraging period. Left alone, the colonies will be able to focus on that foraging and not have to stop to repair any damage that I do to comb or propolis seals throughout the hive, simply focusing on pollen and nectar gathering. These pre-move inspections also allowed me to prepare the hives for the move on the back of the trailer later in the week. I like to double strap all of the hives, 2 parallel straps about a third of the way in, front and back. These are the Thorn Beehives standard straps, the cantilever type that once you work out how to secure them, work brilliantly and are quick to put in place. Now entrances, here we have a real mix, and it is one of the design flaws in the honeypore hives, in my opinion. The standard entrance is just a simple plastic strip that slots into 2 grooves on the face of the floor. These can be either difficult to push into the slot or so loose that they fall out. We've been experimenting with some new flat entrances from Thorn Beehives. These are called orientation entrances and work well enough, but I'm still trying to work out how to securely fix them for transporting the bees. The jury's still out on those, and of course there's the Hive 5 multi-guard, which isn't yet compatible with the Langstroth honeypore hives, so we're not able to easily use these. The easiest, simplest solution? A strip of foam, pushed into the entrance gap with a hive tool. Quick and easy. Sometimes the best solutions are the simplest and the cheapest. Let's call it a work in progress, something to think about over the winter months, these summer entrances. With all of the hives strapped and readied, it was just a case of waiting for the cool of the evening so I could block bees into their hives and get them onto the trailer. Of course, it's been so hot, so the bees tend to sit on the outside of the hive at the entrance. It's not a huge issue, and a little smoke pushes them back gently into the hive. Our trip is only a couple of hours, so generally overheating is not a problem for the bees, or for me actually. I do have some travel screens I can use if the colony is exceptionally large, but actually adding a couple of supers before strapping them normally gives them enough room that they can fan themselves to be cool enough for the move. This year, my biggest mistake was more a logistical issue, born from the fact that I've been rebuilding our numbers back up and had multiple splits scattered at different apiary locations. This meant, stupidly, I had to drive to 3 apiaries to load all of the hives for this trip. Not a great situation, but one that was kind of forced on myself by me. The plan, yes, I have a plan. The plan for next season is to have each load of bees to go to the borage in one single apiary site. Load them at one location and move them, not load, drive, and load, drive again. It just adds about another hour to the move time, and late at night I really just want to get the bees on board safely and head off. The trip down actually was very uneventful. It doesn't really make for a great podcast story, but I'm frankly relieved for it. The biggest challenge was actually once we arrived at the farm and discovered the farmer had set up a patchwork of irrigation pipes across several of the tracks that I needed to drive down to get to the agreed site. If you'd have seen my reversing skills from above, you'll have seen that I travelled around 4 times the straight line distance in getting back to the starting point of the farm gate. You know, it's a skill to be able to weave a truck and trailer backwards up a slight incline in the middle of the night. The 200 metres of straight line driving was easily 800 metres of zigzag, left hand down, right hand down, forwards a bit, backwards a bit more. Inevitably, there was a little bit of cursing, but I got there in the end. As we pulled up to the spot to drop off the bees, it started raining. Just a little at first, but then it really came down in buckets. It was lashing down. So heavy, but we need that rain, of course. It only lasted for around 2 hours, and it's never going to be enough. And I certainly wasn't going to get out in that weather. The bees were fine, the rain cooled the air, the rain cooled the hives, and so we just sat and waited. Eventually, it did dry up. The bees were unloaded, again without a problem. We're getting reasonably adept at loading and unloading these days. And a hot coffee was brewed. A couple of hours of dozing, and I was out inspecting the few colonies that I felt needed to have a last look. Finally, supers were added, and here I've been forced to put all of the supers on hives in one go, rather than adding 2 or 3 to start with, and going back a couple of weeks later to add more where required. For those of you that have seen the video of the grumpy colony at the fishing lakes, I added 3 more supers and a section rack, making it a total of 6 boxes. It will be interesting to see what they do with all that space. Certainly, with the amount of sealed brood they had at the last inspection, I anticipate great things from them. To put everything into context, though, a few of the colonies were relatively small, and I added just 2 supers. Everything else fell squarely in between, with 3 to 5 supers. Most colonies were given a box of drawn comb, a box of cut comb foundation or wired foundation, with several getting section squares and a couple getting Ross round frames. All in all, I'm excited to see what they can do while I'm away. Back at base, the black brambleberries, as I've named them, have all but finished flowering at the fishing lakes. I did notice that the sweet chestnut trees are just bursting into flower. I don't have any large number of trees close to our apiaries. It would be lovely to place some hives close to these trees to get a crop of honey, but right now I'm focused on developing our nucleus colonies through the summer in preparation for the long haul through to next spring. It's not going to be long. With that in mind, we've been asked to treat all of the nucleus colonies that we're selling next year, so I'm about to place an order for treatments. I'll use Apivar treatments this year. They've always worked well for me. These are hanging strips that simply slip between the frames and are left there for between 6 to 10 weeks, depending on the amount of brood present. These strips can't be used when honey supers are on the hives, so it's really important to get all of our honey extracted prior to using them. Of course, for our nucleus colonies, we have no honey to worry about, so the strips can go straight in without any timing issues. I do like to treat all of the colonies at the same time, if nothing more than as a helpful reminder to me that they can all come out at the same time too. There are, of course, lots of treatments out there, so if you're going to treat after your supers come off, take a little time to find the right treatment for your bees, read the instructions well in advance, and buy what you need in good time. One of the great things about the internet these days is most of these products have their instructions listed online, but I find the very best place to go for all the information is the Veterinary Medicines Directorate website. Everything you need in one place. I'll put a link into the podcast notes for you. Finally, wasps. I've started seeing a few of them around the apiaries in this last week or so. Nothing much to worry about right now, but having suffered losses in the past, I'm taking no chances this year and making sure that all my colonies, be them nukes or full-size colonies, are strong enough to fight off any intruders. Keep a watchful eye in and around your apiary for these, and hornets of course, as we get towards that robbing phase of the season. Well, that's it for this week. I'll catch up with you all again in a couple of weeks' time, hopefully with some updates on just how well the bees have managed without me. For all of you who haven't yet signed up to my Patreon page, I, together with Steph, have been creating beekeeping content for many years now. And if you're looking for some straightforward, down-to-earth tips and techniques, help and advice, then do take a look at my Patreon page. We have over 1,600 individual beekeeping posts, videos and podcasts filled with useful and timely help and advice. My approach is pragmatic and calm, sometimes entertaining, but always with help and support for beekeepers at the heart of what I do. I keep my videos short and concise wherever possible, no waffle, no flannel, just honest beekeeping advice from years of keeping bees. Take a look and join me for the new 2025 beekeeping season. It'll cost you less than a jar of honey. Head over to Google and search for Patreon and the Norfolk Honey Company.